got some updates in regards to the new Texas interpretation of the like child protective services kind of purview in the law. The state of Texas, the Attorney General of Texas, recently put out a letter where they said that having a trans kid is child abuse. Just having a trans kid, right? You can hug them every day. They're, you know, perfectly healthy. They're perfectly well fed. But just the fact that they're trans means that they're abused. And so there's already cases of this being documented, of parents being persecuted, threatened with jail time, investigated, fired, just because the only thing is that they have a transgender kid. That's it. It's not like they've got like a group of like children in the basement, you know, like shackled up, like, you know, it's not like they're serial killers, right? It's not like they're like tax frauds or anything like that or anything. They literally, that's it. The only thing they have is a trans kid. That's it. It's that simple. If that sounds bizarre to you, if that sounds preposterous to you, look it up. I mean, like, it's Texas. These motherfuckers are crazy. But anyway, so the Biden administration has responded, and we have a couple of updates here from Aaron in the Morn on Twitter. And Joe Biden on Twitter as well tweeted out some stuff about this. Huge response from the Biden administration on Texas taking trans kids from supportive parents. There's too much for one tweet, but Office of Civil Rights will make contact with parents and defend them. Children's Bureau contradicts Texas CPS. HHS demands HIPAA be followed. So here we have a note here, a document of some kind. The Department of Health and Human Services stands with transgender and gender nonconforming youth and their families and the significant majority of expert medical associations in unequivocally stating that gender-affirming care for minors, when medically appropriate and necessary, improves their physical and mental health. That's correct. That is true. Attempts to restrict, challenge, or falsely characterize this potentially life-saving care as abuse as dangerous. Such attempts block parents from making critical healthcare decisions for their children, create a chilling effect on healthcare providers who are necessary to provide care for these youth, and ultimately negatively impact the health and well-being of transgender and gender nonconforming youth. The HHS Office for Civil Rights, OCR, will continue working to ensure transgender gender nonconforming youth are able to access healthcare free from the burden of discrimination. It goes on. And that's good. That's great. But also we've got a statement from the White House, President Biden specifically, that I want to read. You can see the header here. Statement by President Biden. All right, so in recent days, elected leaders in Texas have launched a cynical and dangerous campaign targeting transgender children and their parents. The governor of Texas has directed state officials to open child abuse investigations into families simply because they have provided access to affirming care for their child. In some cases, that's not even true. The law, like the interpretation of the law, is so broad that it's like if the kid even expresses any amount of gender non-conformity, that they must be investigated, right? And then the investigation will determine, oh, the parent didn't do anything yet, so therefore they're okay, right? In that fucked up interpretation, right? So again, so it doesn't even mean, like, it doesn't even need to, you don't even need to have done anything medically with your child in regards to this. It can literally just be based on vibes, and then you have to defend yourself in court. At least that's the Ken Paxton interpretation, Attorney General of Governor. This is government overreach at its worst. Agreed. Like so many anti-transgender attacks proliferating in states across the country, the governor's actions callously threaten to harm children and their families just to score political points. These actions are terrifying many families in Texas and beyond, and they must stop. Today, the Department of Health and Human Services has announced several actions to keep transgender children in Texas and their families safe, putting the state of Texas on notice that their discriminatory actions put children's lives at risk. Now, one of the things here is that this whole battle going on, right, is probably going to end up in the Supreme Court. This is usually what they do. These red states will put out these really bizarre laws, and then the courts will either see, okay, is this right? Is this wrong? Who knows? And again, we live in this really far-right country where most of the judges are right-wing psychopaths, so who knows? I mean, it could, if it ends up at the Supreme Court, you know what's going to happen, right? But who knows if it's even going to make it there? Who knows? It's really, we're just going to be waiting out the clock on this one. These announcements make clear that rather than weaponizing child protective services against loving families, child welfare agencies should instead expand access to gender-affirming care for transgender children. Respected medical organizations have said that access to gender-affirming care for transgender children can benefit mental health, lower suicide rates, and improve other health outcomes. Children, their parents, and their doctors should have the freedom to make the medical decisions that are best for each young person without politicians getting in the way. I agree. In the United States of America, we respect the rights and dignity of all families, transgender children, bring fulfillment to their parents, joy to their friends, and are made in the image of God. I'm just going to ignore the God part. And again, there's some other updates here as well of the HHS and other Biden administration agencies going in and providing resources to people. Again, that's good. That's good. I'm glad that that's happening. It's definitely better than nothing. Absolutely. But that's not going to change the fact that Republicans, if they win the midterms, if they win the presidency, if they ever hold power again, I mean, we saw what happened when Trump took office. One of the first things that Trump did was attack transgender people with the military ban and other things, calling trans people mentally ill, other such things. And again, if they ever take power again, these are the blueprints. If they take power in the House, if they take power in the presidency, right, ever again, or in these states, if they're governors, like look at what's going on in Virginia with the new Republican governor. This is what they do. This is the blueprint of the Republican Party. They are trying to enact a genocide of transgender people in every way that they can. And it's good that Biden is going to slow the bleeding here. That's good. But again, there needs to be a lot of things fixed in this country before the blood stops flowing. Anyway, enough about blood. There you go.